guys, so today I actually want to talk about the importance of finding signature items. So, first, in order to find your signature item, you first got to be comfortable with experimenting. Because here's the thing, right? There's no label that's going to be like, hey, this is your signature shade. This is for you. Because here's the thing, right? They're marketing to everybody. And you're not everybody. So, when it comes to finding your, first I'm going to talk about your signature lipstick shade. When it comes to finding a signature lipstick shade, I highly suggest first experimenting through drugstore brands. Find your favorite drugstore brand and experiment with their lower cost colors. And then, when you are ready and you put aside money for it, because here's the thing, right? Don't dive into a higher end makeup without knowing what you're doing, because that can be a huge sink of money. And I don't know about you, but I can't afford to buy a bunch of $25 lipsticks. I don't know about you, but I know about me. I can't afford to be doing that. I actually got this from Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty, so it wasn't $25, but the point stands. This right here is my signature lipstick shade in Go Retro by MAC Cosmetics. It is their Maximal Matte Lipstick. The trend cycle says matte is out. My signature style doesn't care. Although, maybe I could find a glossy formula in this color, but I noticed that I like this color on me. I initially had tried this color from drugstore brands, and while they were good, they weren't the best. Now, obviously, this isn't the best either. The best is subjective, but it's better, and I love it. Although, lots of people say the shape of the lipstick tube looks like a marmalade, but, we're not talking about that today. So to find your signature shade, I highly suggest first experimenting in drugstore brands, and then when you're ready to get the more expensive brands, wear a swatch of the drugstore brand on your wrist, and then try to shade match the higher end brands right beneath it or right around it, and then get the one that's either the same or the closest, because this was close to the one that I found. It wasn't the exact, but after wearing this one, I come to realize I like this better. I think it just looks better on me. Now, the signature eyeshadow palettes are a little bit harder. Alright, so, this is about to sound so goofy, but this is the eyeshadow palette I'm seen always wearing. Yeah. It's shades from this palette. Actually, pretty much all the shades I'm wearing are from this palette. I acknowledge that it's Pusheen. And the Creme Shop is drugstore priced. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to find a signature eyeshadow palette because, well, palettes vary wildly. And honestly, I've realized that you can get good results from lower end eyeshadow. You can get good results from lower end makeup in general. But it's a lot harder to pinpoint the items. So first, experiment with colors. See what colors you think look the best on you. Initially, I only did like grays and browns, but I had some people tell me, that my blue eyes would actually look wonderful with pinkish red shades, which, I very luckily already had this palette with a lot of pinkish red shades. So I first started trying and using the pinkish red shades, and yeah, I love it. It looks great on me. And that is how I ultimately ended up with this palette that I prefer. One day when this palette is dried and finished, I'll have swatches of the colors that I used, or just colors from this palette, and I'll try to match it to a higher end brand. But for right now, this palette works wonders. So what I would do to try to find your signature palette is experiment with colors, see which colors you think look the best on you, and then document those. So for like a month straight, write down the name of the colors that you are constantly dipping into. And at the end of the month, see which colors are repeated the most often. That'll help indicate where your signature shades are. And when you're eventually going to find a higher end palette, which I think I still got some time on this one. I got like another year or so on this palette. I know it says only 12 months, but it's powder. It'll be fine. Trust me. It'll be fine. Makeup expires. That's another important reason to find signature items, not only for the price, but makeup expires. Powders are usually fine, but like cream products, that stuff expires. And you can get like really nasty rashes and stuff from expired makeup, so be careful with that. But over the course of that month, document the shades that you use most often. And that will help you find which shades are your signature, which ones you dip in the most. And then have swatches of those shades and try to match it to a different palette. Maybe you can find all those shades in one palette. If you can, awesome, that's beautiful. If you can't, you might want to compromise with some shades, find similar ones. And if you're not willing to do that either, then, well, try to find the original palette you had, or get comfortable buying multiple. But buying multiple defeats the purpose of having a signature one. Does that make sense? So if you want to find the signature palette, you might have to compromise a little bit, which I probably will. But the thing is, right, you can take a picture of the palette, and then you can find one that's similar. Like, Ulta Beauty brand has a very similar color story as this one. Their pink store brand one. Very similar color story, which, if I didn't have this one, I would probably use that one instead. But I have this one, so. And now for signature scents. Oh my gosh. This one is hard and controversial because fragrances aren't for everybody. Fragrances are for me. I love them. What stopped me from spending entirely too much money on more fragrances was telling myself, you need a signature fragrance. You need something that people smell and they immediately think of you. You know, you need something that makes you memorable. And that's another benefit of having signature items. Oh, that lipstick shade? Immediately I think of Amber. Oh, that fragrance? I immediately think of Amber. Oh, that eyeshadow color story? I immediately think of Amber. You know, you want that. Either this shade of orange? I immediately think of Amber. That is the purpose of having a signature. I originally got the smaller version of this in like a little tiny spray tube as an Ulta Beauty sample. And I loved the fragrance, and I loved it even more because I first tried this shortly after I brought home my cat, Daisy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this has the same name as my new cat. And my little Daisy is in fact wild. So I just thought, you know, that's a cute little sign. And I tried some other fragrances, and this is also personally my husband's favorite that I wear. So I chose this one to be my signature fragrance. And it's super cute, and I feel like just the bottle also matches my vibe. It's a very understated floral fragrance. So when it comes to finding signature fragrances, this can be a little bit more difficult because there's so many. And well, here's the thing, right? This is a designer fragrance. You don't need a designer fragrance. You don't need it. If you like it, more power to you, but let's be real. Let's be real, you know? Not everybody can afford hundreds of odd dollar perfume. And that's just being realistic. So first, you're gonna find which fragrance family you like the most. Turns out I like my florals. And that's what led me down the floral path. And initially I got the small one as a sample. And that was it for me. So if you get perfume samples and you're actually in the market for perfume, again, I said this earlier, lots of people can't handle fragrances. I have a friend who gets migraines from fragrances. I have also people with asthma and allergies. Fragrances can really mess them up. I have asthma and allergies, and luckily, I'm fine. But when I was younger, I could not handle fragrances. So if you get those tiny little tubes and you're in the market for fragrances, always give them a shot. What I suggest is actually spraying them on a piece of paper and wafting them around first. That way you don't smell like a horrible amalgamation of too many scents that do not go together. Spray it on a piece of paper, waft it around a little bit, and then... However, that said, fragrances can smell different on paper versus you. So the paper trick only works to find the fragrance family. And if you want to go subtle on the fragrances, I highly suggest using the roller balls. I don't have one with me right now, but I have one in the other room. Put it on your pulse points, so your wrists and your neck. It's a very subtle way to wear just enough fragrance, but not so much that you're choking out the entire room. Also, when it comes to spray fragrances like that, 1, 2, 3, that's it. 3 spritz, that's it. If you keep going more and more and more, A, you might want to say something about getting your nose checked, because you might have a cold or something and you're having issues smelling. And B, you're going to be choking people out, and that's just mean. That's not classy. Classy people don't choke people out. That's just mean. But yeah, those are some of the importance of finding signature items. And signature style is something we're going to talk about a little bit later because, well, there's a lot more that goes into style than, in my opinion. This is my opinion. There's more that goes into style than goes into, like, perfume and makeup. Perfume and makeup is easier to find signatures of because if you shop at, like, Sephora or Ulta, you get samples of these products all the time. They're so much easier to find. However, when it comes to clothing and fashion, that can get expensive, and that can get expensive quick, even if you are shopping cheaper brands. So, we're going to talk about that later. Anyways, I think that is actually it for today's video. If any of this was useful, give me a shout out in the comments. If you enjoy this style content, give me a like. And if you enjoy my content in general, hit subscribe. I'll be happy to have you around. I think that would be all for me. And here's a sippy of my favorite ginger ale. I think I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers. Oh, it's fizzy.